In this video, we're going to take a look at ProMediaGear's Duo slider and a ion controller. Now the term duo implies two, and that is the curved track on this one side, and on the flip side, a straight track. ProMediaGear, or PMG, they do make a variety of sliders with different radii. The one pictured is a 36-inch radii, which means that the camera should really be about 36 inches from the subject. What this represents to me is simplicity. Very lightweight construction, easy to transport, and easy to set up. So let's just quickly set up this Duo slider. Now these legs, these little rubber legs, they're okay if you're going to put them on a tabletop or something like this. In a second I'll show you how I get them on stands for more of a typical interview setup. But with this slider, this is the truck for it. It takes a tripod head that has a 3/8/16 threaded flat bottom, and you simply slide this on and kind of tighten it down, tighten the rollers a little closer, and you're pretty much ready to go. Now this particular unit we rented from Lens Rentals, so I didn't get a lot of time to spend with the controller to really kind of figure through it, but one of the interesting things about it, it has a loop function, and the way this seems to work is that once the sled gets to the end of the track, the motor senses a change in torque and automatically reverses direction. So for an interview, for like a longer interview, this is actually great for, again, for very small crews where you don't have an operator who's, working the slider back and forth all day long. In terms of motor noise, at this speed, it's, perhaps you can hear the motor, but once we go a little lower, we generally can't hear the motor running. So it's definitely suitable for interviews, and that's how I used it. Now in video mode, the slider or the motor, once it gets to the end of the track, it simply stops. It does not reverse direction. If you're not working off a table or the floor or a bunch of Apple boxes and you want to adjust the height and the level of this unit, what you can do is attach a bowl. We have these 3/8/16 fittings on both sides. Okay, and what you want to do is take a half bowl with a proper appropriate 3/8/16 thread and simply attach it on, and then this will go onto your tripod like that. And now you can level and adjust the height of your slider. At the ends there are some 1/4-20 fittings, so you could attach a monopod or something similar, some grip rigging to stabilize the ends, because once your camera gets to the end of the track, you don't want it falling over or tilting, getting out of level. So I would suggest using monopods or something like that to attach to the ends. Now another way to easily adjust the height and level of these sliders are to take advantage of these 1/4-20 threaded fittings at the end, and simply get a baby pin with a 1/4-20 threaded on at the end and screw them down. I'll get both sides, and then we'll fit this onto a couple of stands, a couple of small short stands with Gobo heads. Once the pins are on the end of the slider, I like to take a couple of Gobo heads, mount them on some short stands. You can of course use C-stands for this, and we simply get these pins in. We'll snug up a Gobo head. Okay, not super tight just yet. And from here, if we want to adjust the height, we could easily adjust the height on the slider, our lens height, and we can also adjust this angle by using Gobo heads to achieve level with these small sliders. Now when you set up a curved slider, you do want to keep the track at the same distance to your subject. This way your subject will stay more or less in the center, in the same position relative to the frame. So this is a 36-inch slider, and I can see that the ends are pretty equidistant to the subject, which is myself. Now if we look at the video generated by the Sony camera, that I should be approximately in the same position. We'll wait for it to go to the other end of the track, and we can see that Again, I should not be shifting too much left and right on this frame as we go from end to end. So as you can see, the setup on this duo slider is really simplicity in itself. You just have to have the correct distance, then your subject will remain in frame and remain in the same relative position in frame, and the slider will automatically go back and forth. Okay, and that about wraps it up with PMG's Duo slider and their motor unit, the A-ion controller and motor.